Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're sort of unlocking a shortcut, if you will, to understanding something really crucial but maybe a bit overlooked. How organizations make sure they are genuinely environmentally responsible. We're diving deep into an ISO 14001.2015 Environmental Management System Internal Audit Toolkit. Our mission is basically to pull out the key insights from these sources we have. There's an audit checklist, a sample audit plan, and a step-by-step guide. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and it's important to remember this isn't just theory, right? It's about accountability and practice. This toolkit shows you the real steps organizations take. It's how they assess their actual environmental performance. It really drives that continuous improvement loop. It's the engine, really.
Okay, so let's start with the what. What is ISO 14001 when you look at it through this toolkit? Our first source, this audit checklist, it's interesting. It takes the standard and turns it into specific questions. It's called clause-wise internal audit questions. Super detailed, like take clause 4.1, understanding context. The question is, has the organization identified internal and external environmental issues? Now, for listeners familiar with this, where do companies sometimes maybe underestimate those external issues?
Well, that's a really good point. It seems straightforward, but the trap is often focusing too narrowly, just on the immediate stuff you can see. A good audit, using this question, it pushes them to think bigger picture, regulatory changes coming up, what stakeholders expect, even climate impacts that seem far off but aren't. What's fascinating here is how these questions force that strategic view right from the start. It sets the stage.
Right. And it doesn't just stay high level, does it? The checklist drills down fast. Clause 6.1.2, environmental aspects, asks, has the organization identified significant environmental aspects and impacts? This is more than just like listing pollutants. It gets to the core of their footprint.
Exactly. It forces them to see the ripple effect, from sourcing materials right through to disposal.
It pushes them beyond just ticking boxes towards really understanding their impact across the whole value chain.
Precisely. Every single process, every product, it has an environmental touch point. And sometimes it's not the obvious stuff. I remember an audit where a big environmental aspect turned out to be the cleaning products used in the offices, just because of the sheer volume and what happened to them downstream. Not a factory chimney.
Wow, that's a fantastic example, those subtle things. And the checklist hits safety too, right? Clause 8.2, emergency preparedness, and asks, are emergency plans tested and reviewed?
Yep, critical point.
It's not enough just to have a plan.
Absolutely not. A plan on paper is, well, it's just words until it's tested. The audit demands proof. Proof of testing, proof of review. Because real emergencies, they never go exactly to plan. You might have a route planned, but is the signage clear? Do people know it instinctively? This clause makes them test, learn, adjust.
And speaking of adjusting, that leads perfectly into clause 10.3, continual improvement.
Yeah.
The question there, is there evidence of continual environmental performance improvement? And this isn't a one-and-done thing. It's about always getting better.
Exactly. And that's why this checklist is so comprehensive. It covers everything, leadership down to operations. It makes sure nothing gets missed. It builds this robust system. Environmental management becomes this ongoing journey, not just tasks. It promotes real thoroughness.
Okay, so we've kind of mapped out what the key questions ISO 14001 asks via this checklist. But how do companies actually do this? How do they answer these questions in the real world? Here's where it gets really interesting. This is the how. We look at the internal audit guide step by step and bring in details from the sample internal audit plan.
Right. So the whole process usually kicks off with step 1, prepare audit plan. And this isn't just sticking dates on a calendar. It's strategic. It defines the audit objective. What are we trying to achieve? The scope. What areas are we covering? Then the methodology, interviews, observations, checking documents, and the criteria, ISO clauses, legal requirements, things like that. Our sample internal audit plan gives concrete examples like, okay, 10 Aug 2025, we audit waste management, and the auditor is John Doe, HSE officer. Then maybe 11 Aug 2025, it's emergency response with Jane Smith, HSE manager. It's all about setting clear boundaries for the audit.
Got it. So before anyone even talks to anyone, there's prep work, homework, that's step 2, review EMS documents. Auditors need to dive into the existing procedures, the aspect registers, legal registers, get a baseline understanding, right? Like knowing the case details before a trial.
Absolutely. You have to know what the organization says it does, what its own rules are before you can check if they're actually doing it. Preparation meets reality.
Okay, stage set, homework done. Now the main event. Step 3, conduct audit. You can picture the auditor maybe on the factory floor, asking those open-ended questions, trying to see the real practice.
Observing things firsthand.
Not just looking at paper, but watching, listening, trying to connect policy to what's actually happening. Then, after gathering all that info, it's step 4, record findings. This is where they write it all down. Conformities, things done right. OFIs, opportunities for improvement.
Yeah.
And nonconformities, the problems needing fixing.
Which leads directly into the final, and you could argue the most critical step. Step 5, report and follow-up. This is key because it makes the audit mean something. It's not just checking boxes. You prepare the report, you assign corrective actions for those nonconformities, and crucially, you verify they actually get closed out effectively. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this follow-up makes the whole thing a cycle. It drives real change. Without that robust follow-up, the audit's just an exercise, really.
Okay, let's pull back. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? You see how these pieces, the checklist, the plan, the guide, they fit together. It's a pretty powerful system. This toolkit gives any organization a clear way to not just say they're environmentally responsible, but to actually show it through structured, tough self-assessment.
Yeah, and what's really profound, I think, is that it shows genuine environmental responsibility isn't about PR. It's an operational discipline. It's like building environmental muscle memory, forcing that continuous self-check and correction, moving beyond just good intentions. And understanding this process, it helps you judge credibility. When a company makes environmental claims, you have a sense of the rigorous process that should be behind them. In fact, the standard itself, Clause 9.2, internal audit, it mandates this. An effective internal audit program has to be there. It's the backbone. And understanding it means maybe you can apply that kind of systematic thinking elsewhere, too. Professional life, personal goals.
Wow, yeah, what a deep dive indeed. We've really unpacked how this ISO 14001 internal audit toolkit works. It's this mechanism for transparency, for effectiveness, built on asking the right questions and always improving. More than just compliance, isn't it? It's a commitment to evolving.
Absolutely. Which, this raises an important question. It's something for you to think about. How could this systematic approach, clause by clause, step by step, like the ISO audit, how could that apply elsewhere, maybe other parts of the business, or even your own goals? Imagine applying that kind of structured self-assessment and follow-up to, say, learning something new or managing projects or even personal finances. Those core principles, assessment, action, improvement, they're pretty universal, wouldn't you say?